All right, so I've shared a lot of my story with many of you in the past, but I want to go back and drill into a particular time in my life to share one particular story. The year was 2011, and I was working for PNC Bank, and I had been working there for about 5 years at this point. I was excelling in my role. I really had a great career path ahead of me at PNC. But on the side, I had actually been acquiring real estate, so I had acquired about 20 units of real estate. And I had also started a financial aid consulting business. So I was passionate about financial aid consulting because I actually missed out on tens of thousands of dollars of financial aid when I was in college. And I didn't want others to make that same mistake. I wanted others to understand the process. So I was passionate about that. I was really enjoying the real estate investing, and I was working a full-time job at PNC Bank, traveling the West Coast and doing really well there. But something kind of had to give. I was doing way too much. And I was still a bit of a knucklehead. So I realized that my behavior, was still really immature, and ultimately found myself locked up in Manhattan after a reckless night and was actually facing a felony charge. And so this was kind of my crisis moment where I can remember the conditions like it was yesterday. I was laying on the ground in urine. It was the most disgusting conditions, surrounded by 20 other people that got locked up that night in a holding cell. And I'm asking myself the question, what the heck am I doing with my life? I mean, I really realized I'm working 3 jobs. I'm still this knucklehead. I've got no purpose, no focus, no guiding North Star, no direction at all. And so it was kind of out of the ashes of that mess that I found myself discovering my purpose. And then making the very difficult decision to align 100% of my efforts into that purpose. So that was actually the genesis of what we now call the Rhino operating system, or ROS. So what is ROS? Just a reminder of ROS and the 5 components of ROS. Starting with our who, discovering our unique DNA, how we're wired. Then our why, really talking about our unique purpose. Then our what, so really what is it that we're meant to be doing in work and outside of work. And then we set the how and execute on it in the when. So that's really the Rhino operating system. And today we're going to focus on the what component. So I'm super excited because the what component is like the culmination of everything that we've done thus far. And it's not just about what we do professionally, but also personally. And I like this mountain imagery of kind of climbing the mountain through ROS. So ROS is a journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And you're kind of always going through this process. And so we've done the work of the who and the why, climbing the mountain, and the what is like the summit of that journey. It's like the climax of all the work that we've done thus far. Now there's peaks and valleys in all of our journeys. Some have more peaks and valleys than others, but the important thing is that we just keep going. And so I'm going to show you a model that I've used to really understand my purpose, my passions, and my proficiency, and really what helped me in that period of time, even though I didn't name it that at the time, what helped me in that time when I was really lost, identify exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So here's the model. I'm actually going to call this model the convergence model. So it's the convergence of 3 circles in a Venn diagram. The first circle is purpose. So purpose is all about my why. So this is all about understanding my why. Why do I exist? When I'm not here anymore, how do I want to be remembered? And that's all the work that we just finished in the why component. Proficiency, these are the things that I'm really good at doing. This is also, you could think of it as my preparation. What's all the work that I've done to get me to this point? That is my proficiency zone. And then you've got passion. What is it that I'm really super excited about? What do I love doing? What do I wake up in the morning, jump out of bed, be excited to do? And so the goal is to find the area of convergence, the area where all 3 of these sections come together in our personal and professional lives. Now, the reality is that's a lot easier said than done. And so we're going to go through the 3, what I'm going to call catalysts of convergence, or the 3 catalysts of life convergence. And the first is, the way you can think of this is pick 2 circles where you have activities that intersect in those 2 circles, and then try to get the 3rd circle to come into it. So the first combination of 2 circles is something you're purpose says you should be doing and you're passionate about doing, but you have not yet developed a proficiency in doing. And we're going to call that our calling. It's like calling us to something, to be good at something we're not currently good at. So how do you get convergence there? Well, the way you get convergence from there, the catalyst, is increasing your proficiency in that area, getting really good at being proficient in that particular thing that aligns with our purpose and our passion. So we really enjoy doing it. We feel like we're called to do it, but we need to get really good at doing it. This is often the case when we start a new endeavor that really aligns with what we feel like is our purpose. We haven't developed that skill yet. It could also be like volunteering, something you're passionate about, you feel like it's part of your service and your purpose, but you need to develop a proficiency in that. Or like learning a new language. You know, anytime we learn a new language, we haven't developed a proficiency yet, but maybe that aligns with our passion and our purpose. So, you know, whatever it is, it's really increasing the proficiency is what moves us into convergence in that area. So the next area is when it aligns with our purpose and our proficiency, but it's something we're not really passionate about. So I'm going to call these contributions. These are our contributions, and these are things that we contribute, but again, we're not really excited to do them. So an example I give here is, you know, I'm a father to 3 daughters, and inevitably being a father, particularly of young children, means I've got to do tough things like change diapers. So I'm not passionate about changing diapers, probably never will be, but it's like a contribution that I make. And so the goal is to really ignite passion around those things that are both in our purpose and in our proficiency zones. Now, again, there's certain things that you're just never going to be passionate about. They're just our contributions, but there are some things where you actually become passionate about it by doing it. So an example of this, when I first started managing real estate, I realized that I was actually passionate about leasing units. So real estate has become my purpose, and I developed a lot of proficiency in doing that. And actually, as I got good at that, I became passionate about it. I really enjoyed it. I loved getting people into their units. I loved seeing their smile when they move in. I loved just giving people a roof over their heads. So it's something that actually moved into my convergence zone as I got better at doing it and as I developed a passion because I got better at doing it. And so the third area are things that align with our proficiency and our passion, but we don't really feel like they quite align with our purpose, at least not yet. So I'm going to call that our comfort zone. So you can be really comfortable being good at something, being passionate about something, even if it doesn't align with our purpose. So for me, when I was at PNC, I was very much in my comfort zone. I was good at what I was doing. In fact, I was one of the top salespeople in the organization, in the department that I was a part of. And I was also really passionate about it. I was enjoying it. It was a lot of fun. I was traveling all over. And as a young professional, that was great. But I realized it didn't align with my purpose. So as you think about your comfort zone, the goal is to really integrate purpose. So what you want to do is you want to integrate purpose into the work you're doing. Now, in my case, that actually meant finding a different role or a different job. But for many of you, your proficiency and your passion are actually showing up in the work that you're currently doing. And it's really just integrating the purpose into that work. Now that could be your work life or your personal life, but really getting clear on that purpose and then integrating that purpose into what you're doing is the way to move into the fuller convergence of that life. So just kind of a quick recap. I wanted to kind of run through those points again. So first of all, how do you move to convergence? What's the catalyst for convergence? The first one is increase proficiency. So really increasing your proficiency in what you're doing, getting really good at what you're doing, understanding your strengths. That's what the who component is all about. Moving in that direction is going to get you closer to convergence. The second is igniting our passion. So oftentimes we get really excited and passionate about and start to actually love the work that we're doing as we get good at it. And so igniting that passion allows us to really move more into that convergence as well. And then the third is integrating our purpose. So getting clear on our purpose, clear on our why component, that's really what allows us to move into that convergence from a kind of holistic standpoint, whether it be personal or professional. So that's it on those three components. I want to talk through a little bit of a timeline here of how does this actually work. So first of all, the reality is that this is a process. Nobody just shows up and all of a sudden is in convergence. And so I like to think of this as 5 phases to move you to convergence. And this is not entirely linear for everybody. Sometimes you kind of start in one and move to the other, but this is a little bit of how it worked for me. So the first phase is coasting. You're kind of just getting by, you're earning an income, a job is a job, but you're not really steering your life. You're kind of going through the motions with no direction. Maybe you're not totally proficient in your job. Maybe you're not totally passionate about your job, but it definitely doesn't feel like it aligns with your purpose. And so you're just kind of going with whatever, life kind of gives you. Then you start to get really good at something. So you start to really develop a proficiency. Your preparation starts to kick in. Maybe, right out of college, you were kind of coasting, but then 5 years later, you've really developed a craft around what you're doing, developing your skills, understanding your strengths. We're calling that crafting. You've moved from coasting to crafting. Then you really start to develop a passion for what you're doing. So that's cherishing. You're really now starting to cherish the work that you're doing. Not only are you proficient at it, but you're also passionate about it. And sometimes the passion starts before the proficiency. That's why it's not a total linear process. But here, your passion, your proficiency are starting to align. Then you're clarifying. So this is really all about clarifying your purpose. You're really starting to understand your purpose and saying, oh, this is what I'm called to do. This is what I'm meant to do. I feel drawn to this thing. And hopefully that aligns with your passion and your proficiency zones, because then that pulls you into convergence. That's when you're then converging. This is where your passion, your proficiency, your purpose all align. For some people, this takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, an entire lifetime. So don't look at this and be intimidated and say, oh, I need to get here right away. The reality is that it is a process, and you just want to go through that process little by little. So let's go ahead and do a recap of the 3 catalysts of convergence. So they are increasing our proficiency, igniting our passion, and integrating our purpose. By doing the 3 of those, you inevitably will be moving yourself towards convergence. And a few action items for you to take from here. As I said, this is a process. The first thing that I would recommend that you do is really discover your zones. So identify the things that you're proficient in, passionate about, and that align with your purpose. And don't focus on how they overlap. Just really focus on each individual component. What are the things I'm actually good at? What are the things I actually enjoy doing? So just really discover what aligns in each of those zones. And then from there, you can determine your overlap. So this is really, what are your passions and proficiencies intersect, and does that intersect with your purpose? Where is the intersection along the way? So determine your overlap among those 3 zones, and then drive towards convergence. Add the missing piece that you might be missing, and those are those 3 points of, whether it be increasing proficiency, igniting passion, or integrating your purpose. Move towards convergence in every aspect of your life. Again, I know some of this just kind of sounds easier said than done. It's simple, but simple is not always easy. So put in the work, dedicate the time to making this happen, and you will start to feel much more fulfilled in your life.